Good afternoon, everyone. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. I am Brian Wilson, and this is a tragic day in the city of Nashville in that we have a very sad situation unveiling itself over at the Covenant Presbyterian School in the Green Hills area. No doubt by now you have heard the news that there was an active shooter situation at the school. It started this morning at 10:13. It ended only a short 14 minutes later, when a team of 5 Nashville police officers engaged the shooter and took out the shooter. That is a remarkable response time for a situation like that. What do we know? Here's what we know. 3 children of elementary school age are dead. We do not have the actual ages, but it apparently, when the chief of police heard about it, it was enough to move him to tears. 3 adults connected to the school in some way, either administratively or as teachers. And then the victim, who has been taken out by police, described as a 28-year-old female and, interestingly enough, a former student at the school, which would have been at least 16 years ago. Carrying 2 long guns and 1 handgun, we are told. And entered the building through a side door. Exactly how that happened is not clear, in that police say all doors were locked. As I said, a 5-man team of police officers arriving on the scene very quickly, engaged the shooter on the 2nd floor, shot and killed the shooter. 1 officer was slightly injured by broken glass, but remarkably, no other injuries to the police team that took on the shooter. From my sources, there was 1 adult that was found deceased on the first level, a 2nd adult on the 2nd level. I don't know where the 3rd adult was found. And I am also told that this school had undergone previous training to make sure that they were ready for something like this, and that each of the classrooms indeed had kick plates, stoppers, basically, that the teachers could use from the inside of the classroom to lock the door and make it impossible for the door to be opened. And those kick plates and then the blinds that they had over the windows may have been responsible for saving many, many, many lives. When police finally cleared the situation, took out the shooter, of course, the one thing that you're trained to do in a situation like this is never assume that the person knocking the door claiming to be the police are actually the police. And so that they went on the PA system and announced that we are the police. Yes, the situation is now under control. And when somebody knocks on the door, you can rest assured that person actually is a police officer. Then began the evacuation. Some students, are told, were in a position where they could run for it, and they took off from the school and headed into a wood line not far from the school and hid out there for a short time. There is a reunification process that's going on. That is a slow-moving process, because when somebody shows up, you can't release the child to the parent until you have the documents to prove, well, yes, this is my child. Somebody can confirm that. And that is, by the way, I know, a maddening experience, but one that is understandable, given that you want to be absolutely sure that you are releasing the children to the right people. I completely get that. I also completely understand the frustration of parents who mostly just want to be with their kids. The pictures of the scene have been, well, almost too hard to watch. Channel 2 especially has a moment where it looks like 2 employees of the school, they might be young teachers from appearances, hugging each other and stopping to pray with a Nashville police officer, a female police officer who was there on the scene. When you see that, it tells you a lot about, number one, the police officers who were on the scene and how compassionate they are, and that people were turning to prayer at a time like this. Such a horrible, horrible situation, as you might imagine, trying to make sense out of something that is nonsensical. That's the basic information that we have at this hour. We are expecting that there will be another update before we get all this hour is through. They said they would try to be back to the microphones before 4 o'clock this afternoon, understanding that many local newscasts do their news at 4 and would like to have the most updated information. We do not have the names of any of the victims. We do not have the name of the shooter. None of that has been made available to us at this time, except to say that the shooter is said to be female, 28 years old, and according to the initial information that police have, that shooter was also at one time a former student. Now, since that shooter is now 28, and this is an elementary school age, this is probably about at least 16 years ago, that would have been the case. I think most of the detailed information we have so far came from Chief Drake, and here is an edited compendium of the things he told us in the last press conference.
My heart and prayers go out to the families of the 6 people who were tragically injured. What I know at this point is at 10:13 today, officers responded to a shots fired call to Covenant School. It's a church school. Officers immediately responded. A team of 5 immediately went in the school, went to where gunshots were being heard, and engaged the suspect. We have identified the suspect right now, tentatively a 28-year-old female white. We know the address of that person as well, and so we have some ongoing investigations as to that. We have 3 adult victims, and we have 3 children who have been identified, and their families have been contacted. Right now, I will refrain from saying the ages, other than to say I was literally moved to tears to see this and the kids as they were being ushered out of the building. I've already gotten a request from the national media about a great response. We're still assessing that as well. But what I can say, and what I've said before, is that whenever I hope that we would never have this situation, that if we ever did, we would not wait. We would immediately go in and we would immediately engage the person perpetrating this horrible crime. So we have identified the suspect. It's a 28-year-old female white, actually a Nashvillian, or lives in the Nashville area. We are having ongoing investigation as it pertains to her at this time.
Located her place of where she lived? You have officers there?
We have.
Was she wearing body armor?
Was she wearing body armor? I can't say that far into the investigation. I don't remember seeing it, but I can't say for certain if she had body armor on or not.
Did she have any connection to the church?
From my initial findings is that at one point she was a student at that school, but unsure what year, all of that. But that's what I've been told so far. There was a door that was entered. All doors were locked to our understanding, and how exactly she got in at this point is still under investigation. There is a vehicle that was nearby that gave us clues as into who she was, and but as stated, that investigation is still ongoing.
Did the school have school shooter protocol?
They did have protocol. To my understanding, we had, unfortunately, 3 kids that were tragically hurt. It could have been far, far worse.
Well, and that is the best information that we have right now. Understand that in a situation like this, and believe me, I've covered a lot of tragic news stories over the course of my career. One of the things that you learn very early on is that information that comes out initially is often fuzzy, and some of it incorrect, and that over the course of time, you refine the information, until it gets most accurate. So it's not unusual to have things that were reported in the early going. For example, they said initially they thought this shooter might be a teenager, and as it turns out, the shooter is 28 years old. And again, that information is the kind of thing you get in this fog of war. Believe me, sitting back from it and watching it, you have the ability to process information perhaps better than you do when you're actually involved on the scene. When you're there and you're in the midst of it, there is a fog of war that sort of creeps in. And so the information, and you're overwhelmed with sensory information, so much stuff coming in that things can get confused at times. But so far, the information we've been getting seems to be fairly reliable. The car was found. This is actually how they learned who the person was. The person didn't walk up to the school. The person arrived at that school by a car and walked the short distance to a side door and somehow gained entry, not clear yet. But it was the fact that they identified the car, and that very quickly allowed them to identify who the person was. And then they have the warrant that they got very quickly, and they went to the person's house and began a very thorough search looking for clues. Was there a note left? Was there something on the computer? Is there something in this person's social media background that would explain what has happened here? And again, I know many of you are very interested to know more about the shooter. We all are, of course. And there is information floating around that may or may not be reliable. In a situation like this, when you are going to name who the shooter was, you need to be absolutely sure. And given that there's already been a little bit of conflicting information about the shooter's age, I'm going to wait until we get the official word from police as to this individual. I know there are rumors floating. I am aware of the rumors. But we need to be very careful here to make sure that we get this story absolutely right. Let's see. So 3 children, 3 adults are dead. The shooter is dead and identified at least now as a 28-year-old female, a former student at the school, perhaps, according to Chief Drake. Police are to be commended for exceptional work and extreme bravery in a situation like this. This, the antithesis of Uvalde, where they waited and they waited and they waited. Immediately, they went in. They entered that building, not knowing what they were getting into with a 5-man team, quickly, swiftly, and did exactly what the police are supposed to do: engage and take the shooter out so that there can be no more harm to that person, to other persons in the school. So a phenomenal job that was done there. In a moment, there has been reaction, and I'd like to check in again with Matt Murphy, who, as you know, has been covering this all afternoon long. But right now, it is 20 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Well, this is the time of year where you can have really warm weather like we're having today, or it can still be very cool at night, and you need to have both your air conditioning system and your heater systems working. And maybe you've got some problems with your plumbing. Any way you look at it, there's a number you should call, 775-7833, Busy Bee. They will buzz right over to your hive and fix your problem. By the way, they are your official Rude Pro partner. You're not going to find a better value on HVAC or plumbing replacement systems. 12 months, same as cash with approved credit. And if you have any questions about your service, here's the great thing. You just call the number and get a hold of the owners, William or Brandon, and they will work that problem for you. You might want to become a member of the Beehive Club. It starts as little as $99. 3 thorough maintenance services on your systems, one aimed at heating, one aimed at cooling, one aimed at plumbing, no overtime charges 24/7, and 10% off all repairs. For satisfaction guaranteed, call 775-7833 online at busybhvac.com.
7 dead, 6 of them victims after this school shooting at Covenant School that happened this morning. We talked the reunification center that's still very active, police response time, and everything else going on today in this shooting. 3:30 right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 25 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk. Brian Wilson in the chair here as we continue to put together the details of a tragic event that occurred this morning starting at about 10:19 in Nashville at the Covenant Presbyterian School. And again, information continues to flow in through sources and through all the regular sources of information that we have. And we're beginning to put together a picture of what happened. Again, some of these details may change. Let me bring in, if I could, Matt Murphy, who has been very, very good on this story all day long. It's been team coverage here at Super Talk 99.7. And Matt, you initially went down to the scene. I can only imagine how chaotic that must have been.
I was a little bit closer, Brian, than I first anticipated. I kind of tried to come in a back way because Hillsborough Pike was completely shut down at Harding Place. And I eventually made my way to an area right behind the St. James Christian School. And there were a number of parents there walking away from that location, and I was just unfamiliar enough with the area to not know the difference between St. James and Covenant. And I asked several of the parents there about whether they were coming from Covenant School, and they said, no, St. James. We were told to come and get our kids and evacuate. And apparently initially the fear was that the shooting was happening at St. James, although the parents never got that information, the ones that I talked to. But obviously an incredibly chaotic situation, and one in the day and age, as you well know, of internet rumors and innuendo. And I know you take it very seriously, and I try to as well, to be as judicious as possible with information, but at the same time trying to help people get the information that they need or that they want to try to figure these things out. I know, we were talking earlier, Brian, about the fact that this is apparently a female shooter, and that is so rare. I've seen a story recently where there are a total, I think you were saying 3, and I think there's some different numbers between 3 and 5. An incredibly rare circumstance that a female would engage in this sort of activity. So that naturally lends itself to curiosity, morbid though it may be, about what the motivations would be. And hopefully we'll get some answers, and we'll try to avoid the needless speculation in the meantime. But I'll say one more thing about the scene, though. I was driving. They opened up Hillsborough Pike, and I was trying to get back to the radio station. And it struck me like a ton of bricks. And you're kind of going, and you're dealing with processing the information so you can deliver it to the public. And an ambulance passed me coming from the area of Covenant toward town. That was one thing. Because I didn't know, and they had their sirens on, lights on. You don't know who's in that ambulance. And then we passed the Baptist Church on Woodmont, where everyone's gathering for reunification purposes. And I saw 2 parents get out of their car, and they were running to the church. And I almost lost it, Brian, because at that moment, I recognized that those parents very likely had no idea what they were running to, whether they were running to just a child that was scared or far, far worse. And it just drives it home, the tragedy that this story is.
It really is. And there are, I'm still getting information. My phone is just burning up with information coming in from sources. And what I will say, again, some of this stuff we would like to get locked down a little better. A lot of this we want to get confirmed by the police chief or by other sources. But there are even more interesting developments to this particular story. As you know, very unusual, and I'm just going to leave it here for a moment, but very unusual for a female shooter to be involved in a mass shooting. I looked up a statistic, and it said between 2018 and 2023, that's the year we're in now, there have been 3 instances where females were involved in active shooter situations. And a lot of the information may become very clear very shortly as we learn more about this particular shooter. But that's very rare, extremely rare. And not all is as it may. It may be the case that not all is as it seems.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same thing.
In the way this is being reported,
Yeah.
and I have, again, I don't want to go out any further on the limb than that, but there are details that are going to be unveiled pretty quickly that I think will bring some more clarity to the situation, perhaps. But again, we don't want to lose sight of the tragedy that is going on here.
Can I correct myself real quick on something,
Yeah.
Brian? I apologize
Absolutely.
for interrupting, but I said St. James and it was St. Paul Christian Academy. I apologize for saying St. James. I conflated my apostles, so I apologize.
Well, okay, that's understandable under a day like this. We just try to get it all right. Look, coming up in just a few moments, there have been reactions, as you might expect, in Washington and other expressions of sympathy about this, and we'll get into that. And again, I want you to remember that there is a press conference that has been promised shortly before 4 o'clock. And when that happens, no matter what we're doing, no matter what we're into, whether it's a commercial break or it doesn't matter, we will stop what we are doing and go to that presser because nothing is more important right now than getting accurate information to the community about this tragic affair. It is now 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
.30, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Weather and traffic coming up in just a few minutes. 7 dead, 6 victims after a school shooting at Covenant School, a Christian school that takes place inside of a church for pre-K students to 6th grade. The shooter was a female from Nashville and 28 years old. She entered through the side door and brought in a handgun along with 2 long guns. Multiple children ran outside to a nearby wooded area. Here's Channel 4's Lydia Fielder, who actually babysits some of these children who attend this school and has been in contact with their parents all day today.
Lots of those kids were covered in thorn scratches because of having to jump in the bushes. Yeah. So they somehow got themselves, again, pre-K to 6th grade students, had the sensibility, as we heard a little bit from Chief Drake, to run away, run outside, jump, whatever they're however they're exiting the building.
Through a window.
Right.
We know some kids had glass injuries.
Exactly. I'm glad you brought that up. We saw inside, this family member told me another girl came in with a bandage on her arm. It appeared like glass. So thorn scratches from jumping in the bushes, running to the wood line to hide and get out of this school. Another student said he thought there was a fire because he heard fire trucks.
There's a reunification set up on 2100 Woodmont Boulevard. They had a special therapist there to deal with the emotions and how to relay this information to the parents' children in an appropriate manner. They were just encouraging people to deal with these conversations in the best way possible. 3 parents are being called at a time to get their child at the reunification center. They have to wait to be confirmed as their caretaker. Red Cross is at the center playing games with the children and bringing out coloring books for the children and giving them snacks. Our own Brian Wilson is saying he has sources reporting that some of these teachers were able to save lives due to heroic acts learned in shooter training with kick plates on doors, making it extremely difficult to breach in a door. An announcement was eventually made over the PA system by police to say that it was safe to leave, and these staff and children were then escorted out to school buses taken to this reunification center. And there are prayer vigils scheduled around the city today to remember anyone who's tragically lost their life and express gratitude for police response that resulted in saving lives. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Let me tell you about Sylvan Health, if I could, and talk about the importance of good nutrition and how your insurance can pay for it all. Nutrition can improve the way you feel, help you lose weight, manage health conditions like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, all directly related to the foods that we eat. And this is where Sylvan Health comes in. Sylvan connects you with a registered dietitian to help put together a nutrition plan for you without forcing you to cut out all the foods you love. Your dietitian will provide tools such as meal plans, shopping lists, restaurant guides. A few small tweaks to your diet can go a very long way. Appointments are done via video calls or over the phone, so there's no need to travel. And here is the best part. The service is covered by insurance. That's right, 90% of patients have zero out-of-pocket expense. So schedule your appointment today. Call 833-279-5826 or visit sylvanhealth.com and take that first step toward looking and feeling better using the power of good nutrition. Good afternoon, everybody. 38 minutes now past the hour, 3 o'clock on what is a very sad day in Nashville following an active shooter situation at Covenant Presbyterian School in Green Hills, where we have the sad news to report of 3 children of elementary school age have been shot and killed. 3 adults connected to the school in some way. Exactly what their connection is, I know that at least 2 of the adults, I am told, are female. And we do not have any details on the names. They have also died in the shooting. The shooter is described as a 28-year-old female, a former student at the school, and that was taken out within 14 minutes of the time that the first call came in by a very effective Nashville Police Department that immediately sent in a team of 5 officers to engage with and to neutralize the shooter. A good outcome for the police officers in that only one officer was slightly injured by breaking glass, one assumes, as bullets were flying everywhere. So it is It is about all the information we have to say, except that there is a reunification process that is now underway, which is slow and is taking time, and which is immensely frustrating, I think, to the parents that are on the scene who just want to be with their kids and want to know exactly, if their kid is okay or not. I can only imagine having to wait while that is all processed out, so that they have to be very careful to make sure they're releasing the children to the right parents. And I mean, there has to be extra care taken. But can you imagine the maddening situation that would be going on if you were that parent waiting to see if your child is okay? There have been a lot of reactions today, especially from Washington, and as you might predict, they didn't wait very long to try to go political with this. It started with a comment from Dr. Jill Biden, the First Lady.
We just learned about another shooting in Tennessee, a school shooting. And I am truly without words. And our children deserve better.
Karine Jean-Pierre had comments to make from the briefing room.
So we're seeing the heartbreaking news of another shooting of innocent school children, this time in Nashville, Tennessee. The president has been briefed on this situation, and our team is in contact with DOJ and local officials. While we don't know yet all the details in this latest tragic shooting, we know that too often our schools and communities are being devastated by gun violence. Schools should be safe spaces for our kids to grow and learn, and for our educators to teach. We want to express the president's appreciation for the first responders and prayers for all the families affected by this shooting. Once again, the president calls on Congress to do something before another child is senselessly killed in a preventable act of gun violence. Again, we need to do something. How many more children have to be murdered before Republicans in Congress will step up and act to pass the assault weapons ban? We must do more, and he wants Congress to act, because enough is enough.
And the president did finally later comment on it. Here's a little sample of that.
And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes, and the danger. The shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation.
Well, one thing that I want to correct the president on, police have not said what kind of weapon was used, other than there were 2 long guns and 1 handgun. My sources indicate that it might be the weapon and ammo that they found on the scene might be consistent with an AR-15 type weapon, and that the handgun may have been a 45 or a 40 caliber handgun of some nature, a large handgun. But nobody has confirmed AK-47. It would seem that the president, if he said that, he has information that the general public does not. I think he just may be inaccurate in that matter. I understand we do have a name confirmed by NBC News. And what is that name? If anybody can tell me that real quick.
Audrey Hale.
This is absolutely consistent with what I have been hearing. And I know the individual's address where police are now at. And it is indeed the residence of a 28-year-old person by the name of Audrey Hale. There are reports, and I'll just put this out here. Again, we'll wait for more confirmation that Aubrey identifies as Aiden, and that is what we are being told.
And and Brian, I would say the social media footprint that we're looking at of an Audrey Hale from Nashville, Tennessee, that would fit the age and description as we know it, is also a biological female identifying as male, a he, him.
Yeah, and so this is going to be very interesting. We are expecting, so it's now 3:44, and we are expecting, and Chris, no matter what happens, we're going to break in and carry the I don't care if we're in the middle of commercial break. I don't care where we are. Even if we're in the middle of the news with Mac, we'll just stop and go. So, be aware and prepared to do that. So we get the very latest information. Chief Drake has been very good, and Don Aaron have been very good at Metro Nashville Police Department to give the information that they have. They have been reluctant so far to identify the children, the adults, or the shooter. But I think that is something that should be coming. We also we must commend the Nashville Police Department for great work here, but also must commend the other employees of the school who took the proper action to secure the doors, to pull down the blinds, to make sure that their children were safe. Because as the chief said in the earlier press conference, this could have been much, much worse. But the latest news, just confirming again, NBC News now identifies, and I mean, I was like, from the information I was putting together, I was about 95% sure, but I wanted to wait until somebody else, we weren't the first. The individual who is the shooter is a 20-year-old female, biological female, by the name of Audrey Hale, and that Audrey, apparently, according to her social media profiles, identifies as a male by the name of Aiden, Aiden. And that apparently is the information we have. Again, at some point, as could have been as long as 16 years ago, this individual, this shooter, was at one time, apparently, according to the chief, a student at the school. And how that connects is unknown. So, do you have anything more there, Matt?
No, that's all I have on the shooter. And we do have reports coming in regarding, unconfirmed, of course, regarding the ages of the children involved. And I'm just going to leave that alone for now. I don't know how you feel about it, Brian, but I mean, I just feel for the parents, no matter the age of the children.
Yeah,
I mean, that's reporting that we'll have to do at some stage. But we are also hearing, because there have been questions, and you may have covered this, Brian. If you have, I apologize. I was doing some sleuthing over there, but about how the individual could have access to the school itself. And there is a report running around that is that's been corroborated enough that I'll share it with you now. This is unconfirmed, that the individual entered first into the church sanctuary area and then moved on to the school, and that was one. I guess that would make sense. That would be a way to access a more locked down school area, is to first enter into a church, which is typically more accessible because that's what they are there for, to let hearts in trouble come in and get some comfort. So,
yeah, well, we'll have a lot of time to unravel this story, but I mean, let's not lose sight of the tragedy that has occurred in our community. And look, the president and all the people in Washington will instantly want to go, all political on this thing, and want to make sure that they are, that they get their shots in to make their political points about, the desire for certain kinds of legislation. But let's not lose sight of the fact that here in Nashville, we have something you can only describe as a tragedy, where 3 young children went to school this morning having every expectation that it was going to be a normal school day, and that they're going to have lunch, and then they're going to come home and be with their parents. And all of that has been upended for those 3 families. What a tragic thing that is. And then the families of the adults who, they went to work as they do every day with the desire to help children learn and to educate children. What a noble cause that is. And these 3 adults apparently struck down, in the hallways, trying to make sure that the children were protected, trying to find out what was going on. Again, we'll get more information from the chief, we believe, here in the next few minutes. But to recap, in case there's this time of day, so many people are just coming back into their cars. They've been away from their cars all day. They may not be aware of everything that has happened here. Let me reset one more time while I have just a moment. Covenant Presbyterian School in Green Hills, 10:13 this morning, shots fired, call went out. 3 children of elementary school age and 3 adults somehow connected to the school or perhaps the church have been killed by a 28-year-old female, now identified. We will use the name Audrey Hale, but a 28-year-old female who apparently identifies as Aiden and was apparently, according to Chief Drake, may have been a student at the school maybe 16 years or more before. The call went out at 10:13. The suspect was neutralized 14 minutes later at 10:27, and really incredible work by the Nashville Police Department. There were kick plates and blinds installed in these classrooms, and teachers who took the action to put the kick plates that makes it almost impossible to get into a door, and the blinds that keep the shooter from seeing what's going on in that classroom. By taking those actions and doing everything they could to protect their kids, may have saved countless lives. Countless lives. So brave action there.
And can I just once again thank the people like Brink Fiddler of Defense Systems, who apparently offered the training to this school about a year ago. And it's my understanding.
Yeah, I've heard this as well.
And I don't want to say too much, but it's my understanding that Brink is he is friends with one of the families that lost a child. And I can't imagine someone with that level of knowledge and expertise in the training that they go through who has offered it to this school, and this school consumed it in the way that they did and saved countless numbers of lives, going through, by extension, the tragedy of knowing that one of your friend's loved ones and children are lost. It's heartbreaking, Brian.
Yes, and I did have a conversation with Brink a little earlier by text, and he shared that with me as well. A very sad thing, but I mean, Brink apparently was involved in some of the training, one understands, down there. So that is at least something he saved lives by providing some of that training.
No doubt.
The way I feel that way very strongly. So, wow, what a day this thing is, and the different facets to the story continue to reveal themselves. The story unraveling, a bit here and a bit there. And again, we're expecting that there's going to be a press conference here any minute now. We're going to stop while we can. If the press conference starts, we'll go right to it, no matter what we're doing. Right now, 52 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let's talk about this thing, Everseal. What is it? Well, it's a technology that's actually been around for a while, used in industrial applications, and the folks over at Everseal just figured out how to use it for your home or your business. And what it does is it seals your exterior wood and concrete. Now, let's talk a little bit more about this because it's pretty amazing. The process starts by deep cleaning all the way through your wood or concrete to make it look as good as it possibly can. And then they add a patented seal that will absorb all the way through to become a permanent part of your wood and concrete and to prevent any further deterioration for the next, are you ready? 30 to 50 years. That's right. It's actually backed by a 25-year manufacturer warranty. You seal it one time and you probably won't ever have to worry about it again. I mean, honestly, think about that. Sound like something you'd be interested in? Reach out to my friend Steve Nelson and the team over at Everseal, 1-844-EVER-USA. Learn more at everseal.com.
The latest on this shooting at Covenant School, plus a conference from Metro Police Chief John Drake any minute now. That and more for Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And very quickly, the ATF, the FBI, the Metro Police are now at a house on Brightwood Avenue. This is just inside the 440 loop, and this is the home where we are told the shooter lived. They are processing that house, looking for clues that gives us more information. And that's about, as we've done a quick calculation, and we believe that it's about a 3-mile trek from the church school up to the place where the shooter apparently lived. We are all over this, trying to get more and more information, and we'll break in instantly when we go to that press conference. When it happens, no matter what happens, we'll break in. Let me tell you very quickly about my friends over at Eurofix. They've got some news for you, some stuff that you need to know. And here it is. I got to tell you, one of the things that they do is that they want you to know they have more staff on and than more the auto repair shops do. That's so you can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. It's very difficult in some cases to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair. Some dealers can be more than 2 weeks out to get an appointment, but not Eurofix. They've been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car when you want it fixed. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car in the shop, then call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says they'll never be too busy for their customers. They're there to take away their pain. Here it is, family-owned for 24 years. Call 844-EUROFIX or visit myEurofix.com. That's myEurofix.com.
.401, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories, and this has been the breaking, ongoing, active news story of the day. A shooting at Covenant School ends in 3 children dead and 3 adults who are staff members dead, along with that shooter who we now know the name, 28-year-old female shooter Audrey Hale from Nashville. That was first confirmed by NBC News. She was a former student at this school. We now know the ages and names of the victims that were shot today, the children and the adults. The 6 victims, this is from Metro Nashville PD on Twitter. They've been identified as Evelyn Dykos, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney, all age 9. Cynthia Peak, who's 61. Catherine Kunze, age 60. And Mike Hill, age 61. And police are now at what is believed to be the shooter's house. Audrey Hale, a family, the Hales own this home on Brightwood Avenue. It's not yet known if there is a connection. That road is in that neighborhood is completely closed. The house is very close to Covenant School. The front door was blown open by officials, and they're now searching that house. FBI is present at the scene as well. Brentwood, Innsworth Academy, and many others have canceled all school activities, sports, clubs for the duration of today. And Nashville Metro Police were able to take care of the shooter in 14 minutes from the first call to officials at 10:13 this morning. And so far this year, there have been 128 mass shootings in the United States. And since Columbine, there have been 360 school shootings in the United States. Only in 3 instances was that shooter a female. Today was one of those days. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Well, this is a sad day in Nashville. It is now 6 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock, and I just want to say that we are watching very closely our monitors because we are expecting a police update. It was promised around 4 o'clock. Obviously, these things are very fluid, but we're expecting to get more information about the shooting at Covenant Presbyterian School. 3 children killed, 3 adults killed, and the shooter has been killed as well by police. And so we're trying to get all the information. We haven't expected we'll get the latest in a briefing that should happen any moment now. Microphones have been assembled, cameras are assembled. We are just waiting for the principals to arrive. The new information, there's been real new information from this in just the last few moments. The names of the people who have been killed, the victims in this shooting. And I'll start with the young children, age 9, each of them 9 years old. Oh my gosh. Evelyn Dykehouse, I believe is the way you would pronounce that. Hallie Scruggs and William Kinney, all age 9, were killed today in this active shooter situation. In addition to that, there were 3 adults who were killed. Cynthia Peak, age 61, Catherine Kuntz, who is age 60, and Mike Hill, who I think is also 61. So those are the people who have died as a result. The name of the shooter has now been identified as, I have it here, Aubrey Hale. Aubrey Hale, according to her social media profiles, is a, I'm sorry?
Audrey Hale.
Did I say Audrey? I'm saying Audrey Hale identifies as a female. She is a female who identifies as male and goes often by the name Aiden, according to social media profiles. That's what we know about that situation. There was a call that went out at 10:13 this morning. Shots fired at the school. Police were on the scene within moments. A 5-man team quickly organized and rushed into the building, engaged the shooter, and neutralized the shooter in 14 minutes flat. From the time the first call to the time that they called out that the shooter had been neutralized, it was exactly 14 minutes, which is incredibly effective work. Certainly, one looks at what happened in Uvalde and looked at some of the other school shootings that have taken place around the country. And you would have to say that this was a very quick response by police. Uvalde, they waited for hours, or the better part of maybe 2 hours, before they actually entered into the classroom. So good work on the part of the police department. And thankfully, all of the police officers who engaged the shooter got out. I think the worst that happened was that one of the officers had a cut from flying glass. So a good outcome, at least from that perspective. Well, I don't know what to tell you except that this is a very sad day, and that we need to remember that the information that we're getting, this is very fluid at the time, a very fluid a bit of information, which means that things that come out early on often change, but the picture seems to be clarifying somewhat. And we know that the shooter apparently entered through a side entrance, is the way it's being described by police. We're not sure whether that's the side entrance to the school or the side entrance to the church, but being described as a side entrance. The chief also said that all of the doors were locked, so there's a real question as to how indeed this individual got in. But if the individual had actually been a student at the school at one time, would have no doubt a real understanding of the layout and would have a complete understanding of any shortcomings in the safety protocols that were in place there. I don't know. The police got there very quick, but this is the thing. When seconds count, the police are still minutes away, and so much damage can be done very quickly. The real heroes are the Nashville Metro police officers who rushed into that building not knowing what they were going to face, and the other teachers, and the teachers who actually did everything they could to protect their kids. I mean, what we are told is that the teachers instantly knew that there was a shooting, there was a lockdown, some kind of announcement got made, some kind of they heard the shots fired, perhaps. Immediately went over and put the door blockers in place. These are what they call kick plates that would allow you to lock down that door so you can't come in from the outside. And each room was equipped with blinds, and so the blinds were pulled, and that means that the shooter can't look into the room and shoot through the window and hit anybody. And the teachers, of course, took precautions to put the kids in a safe corner of the room away from the door. All of those protocols apparently followed to the letter, to the point where a lot of kids and the teachers wouldn't come out until an announcement was made on the PA system. The situation is okay. The next person who knocks on your door really will be a Nashville police officer, and you may open your door to that person. And then students were evacuated. I'm told great care was taken to make sure that the kids were evacuated so they did not see some of the carnage that was still there. The shooter had, we are told, 2 long guns and 1 handguns. We'll leave it at that for right now. The President of the United States said today that there were AK-47s. We've not had that confirmed. In fact, I'm not sure that's accurate, but that was said today. And the whole situation just, took place in a matter of moments. In a matter of moments, lives, of course, have been changed forever. The many parents rushed to the scene in an effort to try to get information. Obviously, they wanted to know if their kid was all right. This whole process has been frustrated by the fact that, once they get the kids off to a separate location, which was a nearby Baptist church, then you have to separate the kids and the parents. So then you have a situation where they cannot release the kids until they verify, yes, indeed, these are the parents. And you can't just give a kid to somebody who says, that's my kid. You have to go through a process. There's a protocol for this, which, of course, can you only imagine how maddening that is, that you're there. All you want to do is grab your child and hug your child and take that child home. And yet the process of reunification is long and slow, and I have imagined that that patience has been worn pretty thin through that process. But that is what is going on. We know that the shooter's house is on Brightwood Avenue. We know that the alleged shooter's house is on Brightwood Avenue, which is about 3 miles from the church school. The church school in Green Hills on the outside of the 440 loop. This house is just on the inside on Brightwood Avenue, and the police and the ATF and the FBI are all there in the process of using that as, they look at that as also part of the crime scene, because they want to know, is there something going on in this house that will give us clues as to what was going on, what was in the mind? Was there a social media posting? Was there a letter that was left behind? What can they find out about the individual, now identified as Audrey Hale, age 28, and social media postings suggest that Audrey identifies as a male and often uses the name Aiden, is what we have been told. Incredibly rare for a female to be involved in a shooting in a school or any kind of mass shooting at all. And if you have not heard, the situation is that since 1982 up to current time, there have only been 3 women involved in what they consider mass shootings. Now, some of these shootings were like parties where people got angry, went away, came back with a gun and tore up the place. But it's really incredibly rare for this kind of shooting to be carried out by a female, even if that female identifies as a male. We are now getting the press conference. Let's listen in now
hear from
to what
Mayor
is being
John
said.
Cooper. Chief Drake is also here, as well as Chief Swan and District Attorney Funk. At this time, Mayor John Cooper.
Thank you, Don. Laura and I want to express our grief and our city's grief on this unexpected day, this worst day. But let us love each other and support each other and hug each other and pray for each other and pray for our families. But also let us praise our first responders. 14 minutes. 14 minutes. I believe under fire, running to gunfire. And then I want to thank the seamless response for federal and state authorities from our police and fire department. So this morning I was in Boston to see my own son's sporting event, and now I am overwhelmed at the thought of the loss of these families, of the future lost by these children and their families. And the leading cause of kids get death now is guns and gunfire, and that is unacceptable. But I want to thank the fast response of our officers. Guns are quick. They don't give you much time. So even in a remarkably fast response, there was not enough time. And those guns stole precious lives from us today in Nashville. And in this dark hour, let us support each other. Let us go and hug our children a little bit closer tonight. And thank you all for being here, and I want to ask Chief Drake to come and give us an update.
Thank you, Mayor Cooper. Again, thank you all for being here. Just an update from today's press conference. We've identified the shooter as Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old female that lived in the Nashville area. We have investigations ongoing now at the residence on Brightwood Avenue, and we have made contact with the father that lived at that residence and are putting together more information. We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school. I want to take the time to at least say, and I won't say the victims' names, I'll let Don say that, but out of the 6 victims, 3 adults, 3 of those were children. 2 of them were age 9, 1 was 8, about to be 9. All the families have been contacted. The victims' families have been contacted as well. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family. When we send our kids to school or to any place of safety, we expect them to live, learn, have fun, and come back from that day's experience. We don't anticipate things like this. And I want to say thank you to our partners, to Chief Swan, to Glenn Funk, to our mayor for his support, to our federal partners. But also I want to say thank you to our first responders who got there and immediately went in and addressed the threat of someone that had multiple rounds of ammunition, prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement, prepared to do more harm than was actually done, and we were able to stop the threat, and unfortunately 6 victims. So my thoughts and prayers again, but the praise go to the men and women. As I've said before, we will not wait. I was hoping this day would never ever come here in this city, but we would never wait to make entry and to go in and to stop a threat, especially when it deals with our children. So thank you. They're not. Just me. They're not saying anything.
I'm going to go over the victims' names with you now. The 3 9-year-olds who were killed Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kenny, Hallie Scruggs. 3 adults, Mike Hill, a custodian, age 61, Cynthia Peak, to my understanding, a substitute teacher, age 61, and Catherine Kuntz, age 60. As Chief Drake said, we have identified the active shooter as Audrey Elizabeth Hale, age 28. We'll take just a few questions if you have any.
John, do we believe that she was a former student at the school?
Yes, we do. Chief, you want to address that?
Yes, from our investigations tell us that she was a former student at the school. I don't know what grade she's attended or grades, but we do firmly believe she was a student there.
Did she identify as transgender?
She does identify as transgender, yes.
Is there any reason to believe the shooter first went to the church before going to the school?
I can't give you that information. I wasn't sure. We know that the minute the calls came in, we responded to the church, so to the school. Yeah.
Was there like 2 officers that went in when they first got there? Do you know how many there was at the first interview?
So it was 5 officers that immediately went in and addressed. We have video that we're going to release, but you can see in the video, you can hear gunfire going on as they're in the school. They address the threat and take that threat down.
Chief, what do we know about her weapon?
So we know there were 2 AR-style weapons, one a rifle, another was an AR-style pistol, and the other was a handgun. We believe 2 of those may have been obtained legally, locally here.
Can you confirm that one of the adult victims, Catherine, was head of the school?
Was what?
Head of the school?
There was some, I don't know her exact capacity within the school, but it was higher up in the echelon.
And were any of the children victims related to any of the school staff?
Unsure. I believe one may have been, but I can't confirm that.
Did the shooter have any criminal history?
No history at all.
And no motive at this point? Anything discovered in the apartment or house?
No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. There's right now a theory of that we may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed, and so we'll put that out as soon as we can.
And Chief, is there any reason to believe that how she identifies?
I'm sorry, I knocked someone's mic over. I didn't hear you. Say that again, sir.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
Do we know about a history of transgender man or woman?
Don't know any history of mental illness at this time, but we are looking at that as the investigation is ongoing, and I'm sorry.
She identifies as a transgender man or woman?
Woman.
Was it the only school that was targeted?
It was the only school that was targeted. There was another location that was mentioned, but because of a threat assessment by the suspect, too much security, they decided not to. And that area was here in Nashville, so we're continuing with that investigation as well. Right now, we believe it's a lone assailant, and we don't anticipate any further damage at this time, but we're still investigating.
The Brightwood address, she lived there with her parents? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
So the scene is going to be processed throughout the night, probably into tomorrow. This is an extensive scene. As you know, she entered the building, which is one structure. The church and the school are in one building. She entered on the lower floor. There were shots fired on the lower floor before she went to the upper level. And it was on the upper level where she was confronted by police and killed. So understand the scene
our
processing
partners at
will
Channel
take place.
4 providing their analysis of it, and we thank them for helping us get that sound. What a briefing that was, full of information. let me go over some of the things that sort of popped out at me from Chief Drake. That the individual who was the shooter, according to police, is a 28-year-old individual by the name of Audrey Hale. That person does identify as transgendered and often goes by the name, we are told, Aiden. And I think the chief may have misspoken, but we'll clarify it, because the reporting has been that this is a female individual who identifies as a male. But I think the chief said just the opposite of that. But one way or the other, there is a transgendered situation ongoing here. Audrey Hale, who sometimes identifies as Aiden, lived on Brightwood Avenue in Nashville. And the police are now at that house, and they are in the process of looking for that. One of the things that the chief said was it was very clear when they got to the house that there were detailed maps, detailed surveillance had been done about how this person might actually go about the attack. It was a targeted attack, and they had a great deal of information there about how she might carry out the attack against the school. And the question of how they got into the school was answered by using a weapon to shoot out, I guess, a window in the door and then reaching in and opening the door. But they shot through the door in order to gain entrance, and that's how that happened. Again, a targeted attack. He said, now, if I heard him again correctly, and this would be new information, 2 AR-style weapons, an AR pistol, and a pistol, is what he said. And they believe that there will be a video released in a short time where you will actually be able to see the police response, which was, by all accounts, remarkable. Let's see. So that's where we are. Matt Murphy, are you still around? Are you still available? Let's see if I can get Matt to join in with my conversation. Matt?
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say, what did you draw from that press conference?
Well, sadly, I missed the first half of the press conference, but I'll say this, that there's a lot of aspects to this case that I think officials are loath to get into, and there's a lot of things that we don't know. We don't know about the mental background or the mental health of the individual involved in the situation. But, it is what it is. I don't think that the chief wanted to get into some of the psychological aspects of what may have led to this event. I think that he's more predisposed to understand the facts of the case as he has them. Does that make sense to you, Brian?
It does. He did say that he was asked the question by a reporter, and you may not be able to hear this, but I had headphones on so I could hear it very clearly. Was asked by a reporter, is the transgendered aspect of this particular case part of what might have caused the individual to attack the school? And he said in a sort of a vague way, there is something about that, how she identifies, but perhaps we'll be able to get into that a little bit later.
Well, I have a couple of thoughts on this, and I am loath to discuss them without a little bit better understanding about the background and the motivation of the individual. But I will say this, Brian, when there is so much misinformation coming out about aspects of what the General Assembly, as an example, have done this year in the overall community, not just locally, but nationally and internationally, when media outlets are intentionally mischaracterizing some of the things that our elected officials are doing, is that creating a sense of tension between government, religion, and individuals? I mean, I don't know the answer to that, but I think I'm trying to be hesitant in my comments about whatever might be the motivations, right. But I'm fearful that this has a mix of politics and faith, that some are going to just use it in awful ways to their own political advantage, I'm sad to say.
Well, I agree with you on that, and we will we'll continue to. I'm going to let you go, Matt, because I know you have been on duty here for a long time today, coming in early at this, going to the scene, and I greatly appreciate having you there to backstop me. It's good to have two sets of ears on this information always. But thank you so much for being around and being a part of our broadcast.
Thank you too, Brian. Thank you a lot.
All right. Now it is time for the news, and when we come back, For those who are just getting into their car and want the very latest, and we understand people are always getting into their car this time of day, we'll have a complete recap of everything we know. You're listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
4:31, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Well, you heard Brian and Matt talking about the latest on the press conference that was released just now by Chief John Drake and Don Aaron, including the mayor as well. We now know that the shooter has been identified as 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale, and she was then able to make it into the school on the second floor where she killed all 6 people, 3 children, all aged 9. Evelyn Dickhouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney. The other 2 adults were 61 years of age, named Cynthia Peak, a substitute teacher, and Mike Hill, a custodian. And then also 61-year-old Catherine Kuntz, who's being told is the leader of Covenant School. The investigation has come out and said that that Hale was a student at the school for some time and identifies as transgender. Chief John Drake gives us some more details on the attack.
We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school.
Chief John Drake said that the 3 weapons were an AR-style rifle, an AR-style pistol, and a pistol. He thinks they were purchased in the state, and there is no criminal history associated with Hale. Chief Drake said they have a working theory on the motive of this shooting that they're now calling a targeted attack, and it may be connected to the fact that Hale identifies as transgender. 5 of the 6 people that were shot were transported to a hospital, and this video surveillance footage of the school may be released tonight, but certainly tomorrow. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
Let me tell you, if I could, about the folks over at USS, United Structural Systems. Listen, they have over 23,000 satisfied residential customers. And here's how they made that happen. You know, if you have a waterproofing problem or a foundation problem, that's scary, right? Well, it could be something big that needs to be fixed. It could be something small that will become bigger over time, or it might be nothing at all, one way or the other. You want your best people on it, and that's United Structural Systems. They'll come out to your house. They'll take a look at your situation. They'll use all of their experience to give you an assessment of how they can fix it and how they can make it better. And you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you're completely satisfied. That's right. No down payment financing available, lifetime warranties. They take the stress out of home repair. USS serving Middle Tennessee, Southern Kentucky, and Northern Alabama online at USSTN.com or call 615-227-2275. Hello, everyone. It's Brian Wilson in the chair and on the air on what is a tragically sad day in Nashville. There was a school shooting. This is the kind of news that you never want to report if you can help it. But there was a school shooting earlier today. And because so many people, I know we've been on this story since it happened, starting this morning about 10 o'clock, because there are a lot of people who are getting off work and getting into their car. Let me spend a few more moments resetting and telling you everything that we know so that people are up to speed. And then as the rest of the show continues to move on, we'll make sure that we give you some other news of the day. So bear with us for those people who are just now getting online with us here and just now getting into their cars. It was at the Covenant Presbyterian School in Green Hills, 10:13 this morning. The call went out, shots fired at the school, and police arrived quickly, a 5-man team put together. They rushed into the building, not waiting very long at all, to try to get in there and neutralize the suspect. And that happened within 14 minutes. From the time the call went out to the time the suspect was neutralized, 14 minutes flat, which is an incredibly good response time by Metro Nashville Police. 5 officers walking into a hail of bullets and just, putting all of their concerns aside to try to save as many children as possible. In the end, sadly, this is really hard to fathom. 3 children. I think 2 of them were 9, one of them was 8. Evelyn Dykehouse has been named by police as one of those children. Hallie Scruggs, and then William Kinney. In addition to that, Cynthia Peak, who came to work today at this school as a substitute teacher, age 61, has died. Catherine Kuntz, we're not exactly sure of her role at the school, age, I think, 61. And she died. Mike Hill apparently was a custodian at the school in his 60s, and he was killed by the alleged assailant. The shooter is described by police as a 28-year-old female by the name of Audrey Hale. And I have here some a little clip from the police chief as he talked about what we know about Audrey, because Audrey apparently identified as a transgendered individual. Here's what the chief said about that. We want to try to get this clarified.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
Not clear, but the way we understand it, and the chief may have said this backwards. Listen, in a chaotic situation, we're still trying to get to the base of that. But they have identified this person as a 28-year-old female, and the indication is that this individual is transgendered and identifies as a male, and the name goes by the name sometimes of Aiden. lives over on Brightwood Avenue, about 3 miles from the school. There at the school, I'm saying there at the home in Brightwood Avenue, the ATF, the FBI, and others, Metro Police, gathered. And we know that it was a targeted attack against the school. When they got to the house, they found out that there was a lot of there were maps, detailed surveillance had been done of the school, and apparently the individual, the shooter, was at one time a student of the school. We are told. We don't know exactly what years, but at 28, it could be 16 years or more ago that this individual was at the school, and somehow there is a theory, as you heard the chief say, that the issue that this individual was transgendered might have something to do with the attack.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So there you have that from the chief. All right, we'll continue to stay on that. And make sure that we get the very latest. That was from a briefing a short time ago. The information that we have gotten is that it was a targeted attack, and in fact that the individual had maps and surveillance and had a plan. The real question about how the individual got into the school, because they said the doors were locked, but apparently we also were told that the individual got into a side entrance. What it now appears is that this may be one of the doors that had a window of some kind, and they were able to shoot out the window and then gain entry, I assume, by reaching in. It'll become more clear as time goes. There we go. Let's see. There is a video that will be released here in a short while that will give more clarity to exactly what happened when the police were on the scene. We'll get that information as it comes available. It's being released probably on their Twitter feed for sure, and we'll have that. One of the things that we know is that this is a school that had undergone a tremendous amount of training, with regard to what to do in an active shooter situation. And our friend Brink Fiddler has told us that indeed he worked with this school. We are being told, I have sources that have told me that there were kick plates in every classroom, which allowed them to lock the door from the inside so that you could not gain entrance, and that there were blinds over the doors to the classroom, so the blinds could be pulled and the shooter could not see into the room. And in many, many, many cases, teachers took that immediate action, put in the kick plates, pull down the blind, and make sure that that kids could not get in, and that the shooter could not get in, I'm sorry. And so that may have saved many, many lives. It may have saved a great number of lives. And the teachers, of course, had been gone through the training of making sure that your kids are as far away from the door as they possibly can be, so that they cannot be shot at from the door. So that took place in a lot of places. One wonders if, since we have a substitute teacher who was apparently in the mix, who died in all of this, did that teacher not perhaps have the benefit of the training? We'll look into that as we go a little further down the path. And let's see, what else? Oh, the car was found outside. Initially, the car was discovered, and of course, the car gave them a clue as to, because the person drove there, then walked from the parking lot to the school. And when they found the car, it gave them immediate information about who the individual was likely to be, and that has all been confirmed. And that gave them the ability to go get warrants and go to the house, which, as I said, they're now going through the house in a very detailed way and talking to the shooter's father to try to understand a little background as to what might have happened here. For our community, a very sad day. You have 3 children who got up this morning and had breakfast and hugged their parents and went off to school fully expecting that they would be back at the end of the day. There'd never been anything in their experience that led them to believe that this was going to be anything other than an ordinary day. And in fact, it is very rare. It doesn't happen very often in America that this happens, but it has happened in our community. You have 3 people who went to work that day in a capacity as a teacher, or one of the individuals was a custodian there at the school. Just came into work to do what they do every day. Make sure that the school function, make sure that kids, one of the most noble ambitions you can have is to be a teacher and to make sure that you're going in there every day to educate those kids and have them come out at the end of the day healthy and happy and return to their parents safely. But that all went awry starting at about 10:13 this morning. At one point, we are told that some kids were close enough to a door that when the shooting started, they made a run for it, which is the first thing that they teach you in a situation involving an active shooter. The first thing you should do, if you can, is run. The second thing you can do if you are not in a position to run is to hide. And the third thing that you should do if you're in an active shooter situation is fight the best you can with anything you got. These children made the right call that ran and apparently ran to a nearby wood line, and there's a fire department not far from there, and many of them made their way to that fire department and were held there for a while until they could put order to the thing. And that is probably what is the most tragic. And these are chaotic situations, extremely chaotic situations, and trying to then reconnect and reunify parents with their children is a complicated process that involves making sure that you're handing the kid off to the right person and to making sure that there isn't any further damage done in a chaotic situation. And so that takes a little time. And can you imagine being a parent and all you want to do is hug your kid? I mean, come on. The only thing you want to do is hug that kid and make sure that, and tell that kid that everything's going to be okay. And apparently that process going very slow and a very maddening thing. And one can only understand how that frustration must have been felt by those parents. So, again, this is the best information we have. And we're going to stay on the story. And, of course, if there's new developments or new information that comes, we will bring that to you. And then in the next hour, I think we will also bring you up to speed on some other news of the day. But if there's anything about this story that breaks or that we need to tell you about, the moment we have it, we will bring it to you. All right? So it is now 52 minutes after the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Let's talk about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Here's the number, 615-246-5009. Listen, if you want to get some information right off the bat, just look up their website, painisbad.com. Will tell you all the things they can do for you there. Dr. Kevin Mitchell is the doctor over there. He's my doctor. He'll be your doctor, and he can help you with your back pain, your leg pain, your neck pain, anything that you have that's going on. This is what a good chiropractor can do. He can help you. And he's got a non-surgical spinal decompression treatments that are actually quite good. I can tell you that I have just gone through 24 of these treatments, 24 different treatments, some on my neck, some on my lower back, and it has helped me immensely. Will it help you? Well, it helps to go and get an assessment. Here's the number again, 615-246-5009. Go see Dr. Mitchell. Your first appointment is only $23. You get an exam, consultation, x-rays if needed. He'll go over the condition you have. He'll come up with a custom healing recovery plan, and he'll begin you on your way to feeling better. I can tell you that I've met a lot of people. It's been my own experience, and I've seen other people who've really been changed by the treatments over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com. Let me tell you about DT McCall's. And listen, there's a big sale going on right now up at the Lebanon office. Between now and then, April 1st, you're going to be able to get a good break on Cub Cadet mowers. I mean, this is the time of year you need to get your mower out, right? And if your mower is lacking, you're not going to do better than to find a Cub Cadet. I mean, I'm telling you, I love my Cub Cadet zero-turn mower. And I think you'll love yours as well. You should know that DT McCall and Sons is ranked as a top Cub Cadet dealer in the United States. You can find Cub Cadet riding mowers with 42, 60-inch, 72-inch decks for those large areas, or you can get a Cub Cadet walk-behind mower if you have a smaller lot as well. And when you purchase a Cub Cadet mower from DT McCall's, you'll be getting access to their in-house service department. Nearly impossible to find a better mower service and a service for repair anywhere else. With a large selection of Cub Cadet mowers, free delivery, and in-house service department, it's an easy choice. Find out about all the things they can do for you and their 5 convenient locations. But remember, that sale is going on right now at the Lebanon store until April 1st. You can learn more at dtmccalls.com.
It's 5 o'clock. I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 71 degrees. A weather and traffic report coming up in just 5 minutes. The name of the shooter is Audrey Hale. She's a 28-year-old transgender female who sometimes identifies as Aiden. She killed 3 children and 3 adults today, all aged 9, and the adults all aged 61 at Covenant School this morning at around 10:15. One of those adults was a substitute teacher, another a custodian, and one the head of the school. There were 5 officers that immediately went in and followed the sound of gunfire and then immediately took care of the threat. The 3 weapons used by Hale were a handgun along with an AR-style rifle and an AR pistol. Chief Drake says they believe all of those to be legally obtained in Tennessee. Here is Chief Drake answering a couple questions today.
Our investigations tell us that she was a former student at the school. I don't know what grade she's attended or grades, but we do firmly believe she was a student there. She does identify as transgender, yes.
And police have found a manifesto, some writings, along with a map drawn out displaying all of how this was going to take place today. She does not have any criminal history. They breached the Hales home today with something sort of a flashbang. That whole street, Brightwood Avenue, is closed, and maybe for some time, as that'll be one of the centers of this whole investigation as it goes on. Drake hinted at a possible theory that how she identifies may have some motive for this targeted attack. The release of footage may be tonight, definitely tomorrow. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
A cool down's in store. I'm meteorologist Dan Thomas in the First Alert Weather Center. For the overnight, increasing clouds, low 43. A breeze on Tuesday, decreasing clouds, high 61. Cold on Wednesday morning, frosty as well, low 35. In the afternoon, mostly sunny, high 64. 74 degrees on Thursday, the same Friday with some storms. Get the latest on WSMV4 on TV and the app as well.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 8 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock, and no doubt by now you have heard the news that we had something of a tragedy here in Nashville today with an active school shooter situation at the Covenant Presbyterian School. And it happened this morning about 10:18. We've been getting information and updates all day long. I'm going to go through this one more time because I really want to make sure that we're providing the latest information to people who are just getting into your car at 5 o'clock and want to know what's going on. So I think we would be well served to play sort of what we think are the key moments from the press conference that occurred just a short while ago, about 4:15 or so, and then one of the persons who spoke was Chief John Drake, who had a lot of great information and provided the best information. So here are the salient points from that press conference that occurred probably almost an hour ago, and gave us the very latest information.
We've identified the shooter as Audrey Hale, a 28-year-old female that lived in the Nashville area. We have investigations ongoing now at the residence on Brightwood Avenue. And we have made contact with the father that lived at that residence and are putting together more information. We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school. I want to take the time to at least say, and I won't say the victims' names, I'll let Don say that, but out of the 6 victims, 3 adults, 3 of those were children. 2 of them were age 9. 1 was 8, about to be 9. All the families have been contacted. The victims' families have been contacted as well. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family. When we send our kids to school or to any place of safety, we expect them to live, learn, have fun, and come back from that day's experience. We don't anticipate things like this. And I want to say thank you to our partners, to Chief Swan, to Glenn Funk, to our mayor for his support, to our federal partners. But also I want to say thank you to our first responders who got there and immediately went in and addressed the threat of someone that had multiple rounds of ammunition, prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement, prepared to do more harm than was actually done, and we were able to stop the threat, and unfortunately 6 victims. So my thoughts and prayers again, but the praise go to the men and women. As I've said before, we will not wait. I was hoping this day would never ever come here in this city, but we would never wait to make entry and to go in and to stop a threat, especially when it deals with our children.
I'm going to go over the victims' names with you now. The 3 9-year-olds who were killed: Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kenny, Hallie Scruggs. 3 adults: Mike Hill, a custodian, age 61, Cynthia Peak, to my understanding, a substitute teacher, age 61, and Catherine Kuntz, age 60. As Chief Drake said, we have identified the active shooter as Audrey Elizabeth Hale, age 28.
John, do we believe that she was a former student at the school?
Yes, from our investigations tell us that she was a former student at the school. I don't know what grade she's attended or grades, but we do firmly believe she was a student there.
Did she identify as transgender?
She does identify as transgender, yes.
Is there any reason to believe the shooter first went to the church before going to the school?
I can't give you that information. I'm unsure. We know that the minute the calls came in, we responded to the church, so to the school. Yeah.
You had was there like 2 officers that went in when they first got there? Do you know how many there was in the first interview?
So it was 5 officers that immediately went in and addressed. We have video that we're going to release, but you can see in the video, you can hear gunfire going on as they're in the school. They address the threat and take that threat down.
Chief, what do we know about her weapon?
So we know there were 2 AR-style weapons, one a rifle, another was an AR-style pistol, and the other was a handgun. We believe 2 of those may have been obtained legally, locally here.
Can you confirm that one of the adult victims, Catherine, is head of the school?
Was what?
Head of the school?
There was some, I don't know her exact capacity within the school, but it was higher up in the echelon.
And were any of the children victims related to any of the deaths?
Unsure. I believe one may have been, but I can't confirm that.
Did the shooter have any criminal history at all?
No history at all.
And no motive at this point? Anything discovered in the apartment or house?
No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. There's right now a theory of that we may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed, and so we'll put that out as soon as we can.
Is she any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
Do we know about a history of mental man or woman?
Don't know any history of mental illness at this time, but we are looking at that as the investigation is ongoing. And I'm sorry.
Did she identify as a transgender man or woman?
Woman.
Was it the only school that was targeted?
It was the only school that was targeted. There was another location that was mentioned, but because of a threat assessment by the suspect, too much security, they decided not to. And that area was here in Nashville, so we're continuing with that investigation as well. Right now, we believe it's a lone assailant, and we don't anticipate any further damage at this time, but we're still investigating.
This Wrightwood address, she lived there with her parents? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that was Chief Drake giving us the very latest a short time ago. And listening to it a second time, and it's always good to hear these things twice. I picked up a few more things that I missed the first time around. Indeed, there were maps, detailed information about surveillance on the school. The suspect, the now dead shooter, apparently spent a great deal of time thinking about entry points and gained entry by shooting through the door. Exactly how that was done is not clear. Maybe we'll get more thoughts about that. There's some clarification I heard in the second playing of that. 2 AR-style weapons. One was a rifle, one was an AR-style pistol, and a handgun. That is consistent with what I have from my sources who were in the building today. And 2 of those were bought legally, locally here. They are going through the house over on Brightwood Avenue in an attempt to learn more about what happened. And apparently they say there was a manifesto, and they're trying to figure out what the motive was. But there were writings pertaining to the event that was happening here today. And so that was very interesting, new information. And a lot will be gained from that. And the question that was asked by a reporter, it had to do with the fact that this individual, Audrey Hale, the way I understand it, was a transgendered individual. And the question was asked, how does this transgendered part of that person's life, does it somehow have some connection to what has happened here? And he said, there is a theory. I'll be able to give you more on that a little bit later. But clearly, in the manifesto, there must be something that is giving them a hint as to what was the motivation of this individual. 3 children. Again, folk, we're trying to put sense to something that's nonsensical, and that's why we spend so much time talking about the individual who carried out the shooting. But let's not lose sight of the fact that 3 precious lives at the age of 9, one was 8, almost about to turn 9. Everly Dykehouse, Haley Scruggs, William Kinney went off to school today as 3rd graders, expecting that it was going to be just a regular day at school. They would go to school, they would have lunch with their friends, and they would maybe go out and spend some time on the playground, and then they would come back in for more instruction. But sadly, they will not be going home tonight. And our hearts and our thoughts and our prayers it's such a sad thing to think about what these families, how they've been ripped asunder by the actions of the shooter. And then the adults. Cynthia Peak, 61 years old, a substitute teacher, according to some of the information we're getting. Going, probably a retired teacher, going back in to teach as a sub. Who knows the whole story, but didn't have any indication something like this would happen today. Mike Hill, a 61-year-old custodian, probably in the hallway, came out to see what the noise was all about and became a victim. Catherine Kuntz, age 60, is described on the website for the school, the Covenant Presbyterian School, as the head of the school. The headmaster, one might say. And over at Brightwood Avenue, you have the ATF, the FBI, the Metro Police trying to figure this out. This individual lived with her parents about 3 miles on Brightwood Avenue, about 3 miles from the school. Very interesting that as they identify this individual as a female, it is incredibly unusual for a female to be involved in a shooting of this nature. Since 1982, there have been only 3 mass shootings in the history of the United States from that time to today that involved a female shooter. And most of those were not the kind of shootings we're talking about here today. There is so much more to be gained from this, and we will bring you all the information that we have. As soon as if there's new information, we'll bring it to you. Mac Morey's in the newsroom. And Mac, I want to try to figure out, if you could, see if you can, when you get through, you got the news coming up here in a moment, but see if you can drill down while I'm on the air doing some other stuff here on this individual's transgenderism. What I'm not clear on, based on what I thought was, we were talking about a male who was now identifying as a female, but I think the chief said the exact opposite. So I want to get that straightened out so that we have that information correct, okay? So anything you can bring to that would be greatly appreciated. Right now, it is 21 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. You know, one of the things that's so hard to try to figure out when you get a little older is how you're going to help care for your elderly parents or your grandparents, those in your family who need a little help because they've gotten to the point where, quite frankly, they just can't do all the things they once did so easily. Well, that's where assisted family care can help. Assisted family care has years of experience in helping those in Middle Tennessee get the help that they need. Now, if your loved one is a veteran, or a spouse or a widow of a veteran, they could well qualify for a little-known benefit that can help to cover these kinds of expenses. I mean, as I said, assisted family care knows how to cut through the red tape. They know how to figure this out, and if you're eligible, they'll find a way for you to get that benefit. So assisted family care will be there for you. Visit assistedfamilycare.com or call this number, 615-833-9725.
Three children, three adults now dead after a school shooting here in Nashville today. We talk about that suspect who's now deceased, a reunification center that was quickly set up, plus impressive response time from Metro Police. 5:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And Mac Maury, you have been digging and looking at, as we all have, trying to make sense out of things that don't make much sense. But we were trying to lock down,
yes,
because it's going to be a part of the story, it seems, about the shooter identified as Audrey Hale. The preferred pronouns on the social media posting are he, him. So what we have drawn from this is a female identifying as a male. We believe that to be correct,
yes,
right?
Yes,
okay.
Yes, and their social medias are I am Aiden, and yeah, she transitioned to male. Yes.
So this will be no doubt a part of the story as things start to unravel and we get more and more information. And again, yes, the preferred name this individual preferred to be called by was Aiden, although apparently born Audrey. That's our understanding at the moment. Maybe there'll be clarification from police. Now, we have been on this story since about I think a few minutes after it started. Mac, you were up early. You were doing the earlier shows when this all started to break. So within moments, we were on it and began to report facts. And quite frankly, we've I think gotten it right almost every step of the way. It seems like we've gotten this pretty correct, and good work there. But we also have other things that are going on in the world that I need to cover. So here's the deal I'm going to make with you. I'm going to move into at 5:30 after the news into some of the other things that we need to report. But at any point between now and the time we go off the air at 7, if there is new information, maybe one of the TV stations has something, maybe police release more information, whatever it is, we'll come back to it and bring you the very latest information on what has been a really sad breaking story that began this morning at 10:13 and has led to the death of 6 people, 6 individuals who went off to work or to school today thinking it was just going to be another day, and they sadly will not be going home tonight. And the tragedy that those kids that went to that school are going to have to live with and endure, and the memories they're going to have. There are some tough days ahead for the families who lost people and for the kids who were members of that school who lost their playmate or their friend. It's all going to be very hard in the days ahead. So we're on the story. We will come back to the story if there is anything, and we'll update you on the story between now and 7 o'clock for sure. But right now, let's take a break and go to the news. It is now, we'll call it a little early, 5:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 5:30. I'm Mac Maury with your top story. 71 degrees in Nashville. Weather and traffic coming up in just a few minutes. 3 Covenant school students, 2 9-year-olds, and the other about to turn 9 dead, and 3 adults dead after a shooting this morning. The first calls to officials took place at 10:13 a.m., and police were able to kill that suspect, 28-year-old Audrey Hale. Just 14 minutes later, she identifies as transgender and was once a student at that school. Police have found Hale's house, her parents' house specifically, which is where she still lived. Inside was a manifesto, maps of the way the shooting would take place, along with other notes. There's potential that the way she identifies may have something to do with this shooting. And a reunification center was quickly set up after the shooting for kids and parents to reunite. It was a long process that entailed making sure that parents were actually related to their children. They only called 3 parents at a time, and only 1 parent was allowed to go downstairs to their child. Channel 4's Lauren Lowry was at the reunification center on Woodmont Boulevard and talked about the scene there today.
We also saw so many school buses bringing the children from this school that is behind me right now, and then also bringing those kids to the reunification center. Together, Jeremy and I would see these kids looking out the windows and just excited to have snacks and water. They did not understand the severity of what they had just lived through and what they had survived. But those kids were kept separate from their parents for many, many hours as that methodical work continued to try to get those parents with their children and get them safely at home.
And video footage of the shooting may be released tonight, but certainly tomorrow. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are on the way. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. Two big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
Let me tell you about Fleeman's. The great place to go if you want a good steak is Legend Steakhouse, owned by Johnny Fleeman. Listen, this is a great place to go. Maybe for a dinner, you want to go for a good steak, go to Fleeman's. Or to Legend Steakhouse by Johnny Fleeman. But here's the thing you may want to consider. You may want to consider going there for lunch. And if you go there for lunch, you're going to find that it's a great sort of meat and two situation. Here are the meats: fried pork chops, Smoky Mountain meatloaf, fried catfish, slow-cooked pot roast with gravy. There are 14 vegetables and casseroles to choose from: broccoli casserole, turnip greens, bourbon glazed apples, fried green tomatoes, potato casseroles, black-eyed peas, just to name a few. It's really a home-cooked meal. In fact, these recipes came from Johnny's mom. I borrowed them over 30 years ago and just never gave back the recipe book. Legend Steakhouse has multiple locations across Middle Tennessee. Good food at a fair price. If you're in Davidson County, check out their Smyrna location just off Elmaville Road. Open 7 days a week for lunch and dinner. Legend Steakhouse. Go to legendsteakhouse.com for details and get the locations. Look at an online menu. It's been in business for 34 years. I think you're going to love your next visit to the Legend Steakhouse. my apologies to the good folks at Legend Steakhouse. That was probably the worst commercial I've ever read. But I haven't had anything to eat because I've been on the air since about 10 o'clock this morning. So Cabana Wife brought me a little bite of something to eat, and that's what I was doing when the commercial came up. So I owe them one.
Unfortunate timing there.
Yeah, unfortunate timing. I apologize, but you'll forgive me because I'm a hungry boy. Again, I don't know what we can say about this that hasn't been said already today. It is a tragic thing, and if there are new developments, I'll go right back to the story. But, one of the things that we pride ourselves on here is being able to do more than one thing at a time. And I think it would be important for us to spend some time talking about other things that are going on. I mean, there was another very tragic local story today that hasn't got much coverage. 6 people were killed and 2 injured in a crash on I-24 in Robertson County. That was early Sunday morning. Of course, we're still reeling from all of that. That's very sad. But again, that was something that happened and deserved some coverage. Looking at what's happening in the swamp, there is a really interesting story that comes from Fox Business. And here's the headline. Chinese American Bank willingly provided Biden family financial records, GOP senator. More confirmations come forth regarding the Biden family business dealings in China. Americans are calling on President Joe Biden to address the significant and important financial connection. When you see this kind of connection between a sitting president, his son, and the Chinese government, when the people don't just trust this and know that it's one of the biggest threats facing us right now, that's really a big issue that needs to be addressed, said one individual who has some knowledge of these kinds of transactions. This comes on the heels of Senator Ron Johnson, a Republican of Wisconsin, revealing that Chinese American-owned Cathay Bank disclosed Biden family bank records that match U.S. regulator records. A bank from China, let's face it, the Communist Party controls those types of institutions. They gave us the documents willingly that backed up the Treasury Department records. Wow, this is getting so interesting. Senator-elect Joe Biden, let's see, hold on a second. Nope. While Cathay Bank was founded in the U.S. in 1962 and is currently headquartered in Chinatown, Los Angeles, they also house representative offices in Beijing, Shanghai, and Taipei, according to its website. Despite Biden denying in recent weeks that his son Hunter Biden, brother Jim, Hallie Biden, the widow of his son Beau, received split payments of the $1 million from Hunter Biden's business associate Rob Walker, Johnson claimed the new Cathay Bank records solidify the House Oversight Committee's investigation into the family's international business ventures. Is that the Chinese Communist Party? Is that a shot across President Biden's bow? Listen, this is some of the information we have. If you don't toe the line, if you don't do the things that displease us, we're going to even provide more information. A very interesting thought. In other words, was this the Chinese Communist Party saying, yeah, we'll confirm that? And in sort of a backdoor way, let the Biden family know we're willing to cooperate if you don't cooperate with us. Who knows? So that's going to be pretty interesting to watch in the days ahead. No doubt about that at all. Here's another interesting story from the nation's capital. John Fetterman's hospital stay just got extended another 2 weeks. This is from townhall.com, asking the rhetorical question, does Pennsylvania have a U.S. senator? John Fetterman's been hospitalized for a long time now, the Keystone Progressive, who somehow beat Mehmet Oz in the 2022 Senate race, immediately riddled with health episodes. During a Senate Democrat winter retreat, he had to be rushed to the hospital, would be later be hospitalized again, opting to stay for a month to deal with bouts of depression. There are now questions about when he might be released. It might be longer than anticipated. When the other day we were told he'll be released soon, and now we're being told maybe a couple more weeks. This is a very troubling thing. I mean, what is the story here? What's really going on? Is it a bout of depression as has been explained, or, given all these other health problems, is there something else at play here? We only know what they show us. We only know what they tell us, and nobody else can say a thing about his health condition because of HIPAA laws. So we are sort of have no other choice but to take the senator's staff, their word and the word of others in the United States Senate, like Chuck Schumer, who has said, oh, yeah, he's doing great. He'll be back soon. Well, we don't know if that's true or not. We simply have to go with what they tell us because there is no independent way for us to know, short of infiltrating, Bethesda Naval Hospital and trying to, or wherever he is, Walter Reed, find out exactly what's going on. So who knows? But now another 2 weeks. What are we to draw from this? I read a story the other day that I think it's I forget how long, there hasn't been All 100 senators have not been able to vote in any kind of vote for months now. You've got Mitch McConnell, who's coming back from taking a bad fall and having a concussion. You've got Senator Feinstein out of California, who is having a bout with shingles, and I think she's like 90 now, 90, 91, and not really in complete, she's not in touch with her faculties, just put it that way. She's long term, not early onset, but well into the throes of dementia, and cannot even remember names of the staff that she works with each and every other day. And you have others that have been out for this problem or that problem, family issue, but one way or the other, it's been a long time since there have been 100 senators in the United States Senate. And it makes it sort of dicey sometimes about whether or not the Democrats will have the votes they need to go forward and pass a certain piece of legislation or to block something that the Republicans do. Very interesting. And then there is this that comes from the Speaker of the House, Kevin McCarthy, with regard to TikTok. I mean, think about it for a minute. There are about 150 million people in America who are said to have downloaded the app and who use the app. That would be roughly half of America has TikTok on their phone. Isn't that something? 330 million Americans. And so there's about 150 of them, a little less than half, that have TikTok. Many of them are young people. Many of them, some are not even old enough to vote. Many of them that do have it are old enough to vote, but are not of that age group where they're particularly active until you take away their TikTok, and then they're going to be pretty upset about it, it would seem. So what's going to happen? Because everybody says, well, TikTok, it's a tool of the Chinese government. Information on your phone is available to be seen inside China. And by the way, the CEO of TikTok, who came and testified on Capitol Hill, was not very effective in knocking down those allegations. In fact, he sort of confirmed them in a way. That was not the best performance by the CEO. He sort of got taken to task and actually confirmed some of the things that people have concerned. Yes, he said, we have engineers that can see information inside servers in China. Well, if the engineers can see it, guess who else can see it? The Chinese Communist Party. And so the question is, what happens now? Because this is not a Republican issue. This is not a Democrat issue. This is a bipartisan issue. In that hearing, Democrats and Republicans both were asking extremely pointed and sharp questions of the CEO of TikTok. So what will they do? Speaker Kevin McCarthy says the House will advance a nationwide TikTok ban bill, move forward to legislation to ban TikTok over concerns that China is accessing U.S. user data. It's been very concerning that the CEO of TikTok can't be honest and admit what we already know to be true, that China has access to TikTok user data. So that he's going to go forward and push a bill out of the House. And it looks like Mark Warner is going to push a bill out of the Senate. He's a Democrat, and he says the White House is in favor of the bipartisan bill that would give the Commerce Department the power to review and possibly ban technology such as TikTok. Doesn't outright ban it, but over in the Senate, their version would say, let's send it to the Commerce Department and let them make the review. Well, there the political process could get a little dicey. But one way or the other, a bill will move forward, and it looks like it will land on the president's desk. And then the question is, will the president sign it? From a political standpoint, not a great, smart thing to do if you're the president of the United States choosing to run for re-election. But on the other side of the equation is the national security concerns we have about TikTok and the damage that can be done. So the question will come down for the Biden administration: which of these things is more important to you? You know, making sure you don't offend voters that are 25 to 35 years old who are very enamored with TikTok, or making sure that this threat to our national security is dealt with in an effective way. FBI Director Christopher Wray warned earlier this month that TikTok's parent company ByteDance was subject to data requests from the Chinese government and that the app poses a national security risk. Period. End of statement. I would say to those within the sound of my voice what I've said before. If your kids have TikTok, they need to get it off their phone. One way or the other, it seems to me there is a fairly good chance it's already been banned on government phones and government equipment, and it's been banned on states. And most of the states have passed bans that keep TikTok off of phones that are connected in some way to the government. So, and I think that's a very wise thing to do. But let's say you work for a utility company. All right, you work for a utility company. You've got TikTok on your phone. Is somehow the information on your phone helpful to the Chinese if they want to take down the power grid? That's a fair question. Do you want to be responsible for that happening? One way or the other, there are real legitimate concerns here that need to be addressed, and I'm not sure the Biden administration has what it takes to do that. I'm not sure that they do. So we'll be interesting to see exactly how that goes. Looks like the speaker is moving with an outright ban, and the Senate is saying, let's send it to the Commerce Department, let them review it, blue ribbon panel kind of thing. Let's find that solution, and then let them decide whether or not it should be banned. One way or the other, something is moving, and in the process, it sounds to me as if TikTok days may well be numbered if the president has the wherewithal to make the tough decision. That will no doubt anger some voters, but be the right thing to do from a national security standpoint. 50 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Let me tell you about the folks over at Rhino Shield. Man, I'm telling you, it's a time of year where you need to work on your house and maybe you're going to paint. Listen, I'll tell you, a coat of paint will make things look good, but how long will it actually last? I mean, you know what paint does. It cracks and it peels. And before long, much time has passed, you're going to have to paint again, right? Well, I got a different idea for you. Why don't you call the folks at Rhino Shield? If you apply Rhino Shield instead of paint, you wouldn't have to think about painting your house for another 25 years, a full quarter century. Rhino Shield is not paint. It's 10 times thicker than paint. It's infused with special 3M ingredients, billions of microspheres that allow the coating to expand and contract, and that's why they offer a 25-year warranty against cracking, chipping, and peeling. Clay Morris and the folks at Rhino Shield of Nashville have a great reputation. They care about doing work, real good quality work. Here's what Jones said. The work was outstanding. The quality was top of the line. The guys were personable, had their ducks in a row, finished in a timely fashion, cleaned up after themselves, left a great coating on the house. If this sounds like something you'd be interested in, why don't you give Clay Morris a call at 615-474-1729. And you can learn more at rhinoshieldnashville.com.
Who is this shooter? Who are these victims? And what more do we know about this attack at Covenant School today? We talk about it all right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN, 6 o'clock.
All right, and Mac Maury will have that. And we're going to jump back into the story after the news at 6 o'clock, because we really understand that there are people who are getting into their car this time of night to go home. They know that something has happened because they've been at work and they may have heard about it. They want to know the very latest. And so we'll revisit and we'll recap and we'll just go through everything we know, everything that we still do not know. And the information that we have gathered is considerable. So stick with us as we go through that coming up. And just after the news with Mac Maury. It's now 57 minutes past the hour of 5 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. In the meantime, let me tell you about the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Dr. Kevin Mitchell is my doctor. He can be your doctor. Listen, folks, non-surgical spinal decompression, that's the thing that a lot of people need. You have pain in your neck, your legs, your arms, your back. This is the thing that they put that really helps a lot of people out. I went through 24 treatments, and I'm telling you, my neck, especially, and my lower back, so much better. It helped me, and I've seen this help so many people down there. People who come in, they can barely move when they start coming in because you see them, well, they have sort of the same appointment that you do. You see them, the same people over and over and over down there, and you'll be surprised to find out how quickly people who weren't moving very well at all are doing so much better. And it all starts with that non-surgical spinal decompression. Dr. Kevin Mitchell is my doctor, as I say, to be your doctor. You should also try to introduce yourself to Dr. Ashley, who's achieved clinical excellence in holistic healing, also an expert on non-surgical spinal decompression, so much more. Your first exam is $23. Exam consultation and x-rays if needed. So why don't you set your appointment, 615-246-5009. Talk to Dr. Mitchell and find out what he can do for you. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Six o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 70 degrees. Weather and traffic headed your way in just a few minutes. We know that the shooter has been identified as 28-year-old Audrey Elizabeth Hale, came through the church sanctuary and first killed 61-year-old Catherine Kuntz. That's the head of the Covenant School. She was then able to make it into the school and up to the second floor where she killed 5 more. 3 children, all aged 9, named Evelyn Dickhouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney. One of those children was about to turn 9. The other 2 adults were 61 years of age, named Cynthia Peak, a substitute teacher, and Mike Hill, a custodian. And the investigation has come out and said that she was a student at the school, Hale, that is, for some time was a student at that school and identifies as transgender. Chief John Drake gave us some more details.
We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school.
Chief John Drake said that there were 3 weapons used from Hale, an AR-style rifle, an AR-style pistol, and a pistol. He thinks that they were purchased in the state legally. There is no criminal history associated with Hale. Chief Drake said they have a working theory on the motive of this shooting that they're now calling a targeted attack. Police, FBI, SWAT teams are at the Hale's house. She was living with her parents on Brightwood Avenue, and they are now gathering evidence. They are taking it out in brown bags so no one can see. And that road where that house is located is completely closed off. 5 of the 6 people that were shot were transported to a hospital. And the video footage of this shooting may be released tonight, but certainly we will see it tomorrow. And that is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
Good evening, everyone. It is now 6 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. I'm Brian Wilson, and this has been a very, very sad day in Nashville. In that we had a tragic school shooting, active shooter situation this morning. And at this hour, we now know that 3 children, 2 of them were 9, one was 8, about to turn 9, have lost their lives as a result of this, and 3 adults who worked at the school, the Covenant Presbyterian School, have lost their lives. The shooter was taken out by police and has been identified as a 28-year-old female who identifies as a male, according to her social media profiles, and born apparently Audrey Hale, and goes by Aiden. Very interesting little passage from Chief Drake. Was asked, did the fact that this individual was transgendered have anything to do with the shooting? And here is the answer from Chief Drake.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
Well, and the reason they know this, apparently, is that they have gone to the home where the individual, the shooter, now deceased, lived with her parents. And they have found maps and surveillance and a manifesto, which explains a lot. Interestingly enough, and it's not real clear how this relates to the shooting, but the 28-year-old individual was at one time a student at the school, so clearly understood the layout, etc. They had she had at the home. They found maps, surveillance, and had gone to great detail to identify potential entry points into the school. Gained entry to the school, by the way, by shooting through the door. They're not giving any details about the motive right now, but did say there was a manifesto that was written about this incident today, and they are developing a theory on that. And you heard what the chief had to say about the theory. So what do we know? Happened at 10:13. That's when the call came in. Active shooter situation at the school. The Metro Nashville Police Department is to be commended, a real pat on the back for how they responded to this issue. Because the call went out at 10:13, and 14 short minutes later, they had neutralized the suspect. 5 Metro Nashville police officers arriving on the scene, put their lives on the line, charged into that building moments after they arrived, and took out the suspect on the second floor in what is described by police as sort of a lobby area on the second floor. And that's where the shootout took place. They did not hesitate. They did not think twice. They put their lives on the line and went in there, and by doing so, may have saved countless other lives. Quick response, amazingly quick response. 14 minutes is a lot of time to pass when people are shooting at you, but when you consider, how these things can go, that they got there quickly and were able to bring 5 people into the situation and neutralize the shooter in a matter of minutes. Pretty amazing. The names of the children. 9. 2 of them were 9. One of them was 8, about to turn 9. Evelyn Dykehouse, Hallie Scruggs, and William Kinney. 3rd graders. I mean, it just breaks your heart. Here are 3 children who got up this morning, had breakfast, got in a car, went to school, got on the bus, went to school, and found, thought everything was going to be just a normal day for them. And this in their lives are snuffed out by some idiot. 3 adults. Cynthia Peak, 61, was a substitute teacher. You know, sending a substitute teacher in, quite frankly, there's a special place in heaven for substitute teachers, as their job is not always easy. And to go in there, probably at 61, maybe a retired teacher, who knows the whole story, goes in there to teach that day and will not be coming home tonight. There was a custodian, also 61 years old, by the name of Mike Hill, got caught in a bad place. And, there will probably be some heroic stories here, but, came to work this morning thinking that there's going to be a normal day. But he will not be going home tonight. Catherine Kuntz, described on the website for the school as the head of school, age 60, also killed in today's attack. Police initially found a lot of information by noticing that the shooter's car was still in the parking lot, and they went to the car. They cordoned it off. It is part of the crime scene. It's considered part of the crime scene and will be processed. They brought out the bomb squad to do a cursory look over to see if it was booby trapped in some way. Felt that it was not. Then they moved that car off site to process further. And so that will take place. Inside were, clues as to who the shooter was, and that led them to the home over on Brightwood Avenue, about 3 miles from the school, where the shooter lived with her parent, or at least one parent. Police have been in contact with the shooter's parents, or her father, is what we are told, and they're trying to figure out exactly what is going on with all of this. Let's see, what else do we know? The school had undergone what is known as active shooter training. We have a friend that is very close to us at Super Talk 99.7 by the name of Brink Fiddler, and he is somebody who does this kind of training and apparently did training at the school. The school was equipped with some things that probably saved some lives, and here is a great lesson for those who maybe they have schools where they don't have this kind of equipment. Something called a kick plate. It's that goes on the bottom of the door on the inside that keeps anybody from the outside from being able to open the door. It's like a door jam. You jam the door, and you simply cannot get in the door. And so if you can't get into the door, you can't do a lot of damage. Now, the doors apparently had windows, I am told by my sources, and the windows were equipped with blinds that were pulled down so that the situation, you couldn't go into the window and see somebody and take a shot at them through the window. Teachers who followed the protocol saved lives today. The fact that they went through the active shooter training helped them save lives today. And though the loss of life is tragic, it is truly tragic. It could have, as the chief said, been much worse. It could have been so much worse. So they had the training. By the way, I reached out to Brink Fiddler and said, we'd love to have you on to talk about, how you go through this and how you prevent this and what kind of things were in place at the school that may have saved lives. Brink texted back to me, and we completely get this, that one of the children who died today was the child of a good friend. And so he's a little shaken up by that, as you might imagine. We all are. So we'll try to get him on, maybe with the passage of a little time, to talk about this. The shooter was equipped with, this is according to the chief of police, 2 AR-style weapons. One, a rifle, the other, a AR pistol, his words. And then apparently there was a handgun. According to my sources, the shell casings from the handgun had the look of something that might have been a 40 caliber, 45 caliber, pretty hefty handgun. And the chief says that at least 2 of those weapons were legally obtained locally. That will be, of course, of great interest. We'll get more information from the ATF on that. So who was working on this? Well, we have the Metro Nashville Police is conducting the investigation, as would be the case, on the actual attack against the school. That would be in their lane. The TBI has been called in because anytime you have a police officer involved in the shooting of a civilian, whether it's a righteous shoot, as they call it in the field, a righteous shooting or not a righteous shooting, you definitely want to have an investigation so the officers can be cleared. And so that's being conducted by the TBI. There is no expectation of any problems here. It seems like the police did exactly what they should have done, but still there's a requirement that investigation, and that'll be done by the TBI. The Tennessee Highway Patrol apparently is somehow involved in this. The FBI is involved in this. The ATF is involved in this. Doing weapons and giving information about weapons is something that they're known for. The FBI working on this case as well in support of the Nashville Police Department. So it is just one of those things where we're going to be a long time getting all the answers, but much information, really surprisingly, has come out. And I would say kudos from my perspective to the Nashville Police Department for how they have handled this and providing information to the community that is so hungry for information. One thing that is to be considered here, again, remember the 28-year-old female, former student of the school, we are told. That's probably as long as maybe 16 years ago that this individual was at the schools, 28. The school goes from kindergarten to what? 6th grade, so that's like 12. That would mean that it'd be about 16 years ago, at least, if not longer. That this individual, apparently identifies is a female who identifies as a male. As best we can figure that out, we believe that is correct. Everything seems to suggest that. It's very unusual, almost unheard of, really, for a female shooter to be involved in a mass shooting. I did some quick research. I can't say that it's comprehensive or thorough, but at least the initial search that I did this morning revealed this fact that that between 1982 and 2023, there have been only 3 cases where women have been known to be the shooters in active shooter situations. And one of the cases that I read where a female was involved, it wasn't like what we're thinking of today. It was more of a revenge thing. Somebody went to a party, somebody got insulted, somebody went away mad, somebody came back with a weapon and shot up the place. And in those situations, it's not at all what we're talking about here. So very, very different. And again, are we expecting, anybody know, are we expecting yet another briefing tonight, or are we done with the briefings for tonight? Have you heard anything?
I have not heard of another planned briefing today, no.
That would be probably about right, given the hour, that we probably will not have another briefing on this. Now, in a moment, when we're going to take a commercial break here, and when I come back, there have been, of course, some reactions, as you might expect, in Washington, D.C. I mean, barely had the crime tape been up before people in Washington started, making their comments about it. We'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Right now, 20 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. All right, so how are you faring in this rough and tumble market? The experts at Beacon Capital Management understand it can be a little scary, but here's the thing. Beacon Capital Management has a plan to assess where you are and then help you make any mid-course corrections that might be needed. I mean, wouldn't it be great to have peace of mind that you're absolutely on the right path? Beacon can provide you that reassurance. It starts with a simple phone call. The experts at Beacon will take it from there. I mean, what do you have to lose except for all the worry that you have? Get started today by calling 615-488-9303. At the end of the process, you'll be able to rest easy knowing you have a plan that meets all your retirement goals. Replace the worry with confidence you're on the right path. All the T's have been crossed, all the I's have been dotted. Again, here's the number, 615-488-9303. The experts at Beacon stand ready to take your stress away. Learn more at beaconcm.com.
The first school shooting ever happened in Nashville today, and some money news. We take a look at what happened today in the market. That and more, 6:30 right here, Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Well, thank you, Mike Morey, and we'll have more information, of course, after the news. We're getting a little bit of information that is checking out with regard to one little tidbit. We're not quite sure exactly the significance of it. We have 3 children who are dead. One is Evelyn Dykehouse. One is William Kinney. The third individual is named Hallie Scruggs. The pastor of the church, Covenant Presbyterian, is Chad Scruggs. We're not quite sure what the connection there is, but that is something that we've been able to confirm, that one of the victims has the same last name as the pastor of the church. I'm certain there are people who know and have put this all together, but we're going to leave it at that. We don't know the connection, but one wonders exactly, what is going on with regard to that. We'll probably get some more information about that soon. So there were reactions in the nation's capital. It seems to me, I don't want to be political here, but I mean, they've already gone down this path. you have an incident that is tragic and that people are trying to, be reunited with their children. The crime scene tape is still going up. We're trying to get the basic information. They don't know anything in Washington except that there's been a shooting, and they know that they have to react to it because, well, it's a crisis and we must react to a crisis. And of course, they use this for their own political purposes. It started with a comment from Dr. Jill Biden, who happened to be speaking at an event at about the time things started to go down.
We just learned about another shooting in Tennessee, a school shooting. And I am truly without words. And our children deserve better.
Well, that was followed by Karine Jean-Pierre in the briefing room.
So we're seeing the heartbreaking news of another shooting of innocent school children, this time in Nashville, Tennessee. The president has been briefed on the situation, and our team is in contact with DOJ and local officials. While we don't know yet all the details in this latest tragic shooting, we know that too often our schools and communities are being devastated by gun violence. Schools should be safe spaces for our kids to grow and learn, and for our educators to teach. We want to express the president's appreciation for the first responders and prayers for all the families affected by this shooting. Once again, the president calls on Congress to do something before another child is senselessly killed in a preventable act of gun violence. Again, we need to do something. How many more children have to be murdered before Republicans in Congress will step up and act to pass the assault weapons ban? We must do more, and he wants Congress to act because enough is enough.
Well, that was Karine Jean-Pierre, and then a short time later, the president came before the microphones and took again the opportunity to talk about this incident in Nashville.
And I want to commend the police who responded incredibly swiftly, within minutes, and the danger. The shooter in this situation reportedly had 2 assault weapons and a pistol, 2 AK-47. We have to do more to stop gun violence. It's ripping our communities apart, ripping the soul of this nation, ripping at the very soul of the nation.
The president of the United States earlier today. Now, one wonders, when all the details are in, whether they will continue to hammer on this particular story the way that they have started out the day. I mean, it's absolutely reflexive. It's like a reflex action by the Biden administration to put aside, the tragedy of the moment. Can we not have a moment to mourn? Can we not have just a few moments to consider the facts and make sure that we have all the facts in a row? Barely the crime scene tape is up, and already we're starting to have, a running commentary from Washington. Could we not set the politics aside for just a little bit and allow this community that cares so deeply about the people who live here to actually just have a moment to contemplate and grieve what has happened, to absorb the facts before we have to go get all political? It's so reprehensible to me as an individual. I don't know how in the world they do this. And a lot of times they do it and they don't even have all the facts. And then when they get the facts in, it's not what they thought it was. And that may be the case here. We'll wait to see exactly how that all plays out. Now, when we come back, perhaps the best information that we have gotten came from Chief John Drake earlier this afternoon in a 4 o'clock briefing, about 4:15 or so. And we have condensed that down to the most salient points. We'll play that for you right now. It's time for the news at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7.
"30 minutes after the hour of 6 o'clock, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 61 degrees in Nashville. Weather and traffic report headed your way in just a few minutes. So not very much new information right now on this Covenant school shooting, but one tidbit now that we have confirmed. One of the 3 9-year-olds who was killed today, Hallie Scruggs, her father, was the pastor of Covenant Church. Reverend Chad Scruggs. Again, Hallie Scruggs, one of the 9-year-olds who was killed today in the shooting. Her father is the pastor at Covenant Church, Chad Scruggs. So to recap everything else, we know the suspect is confirmed dead, a transgender female, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, who once attended Covenant School. Metro Police Chief John Drake has said that the way she identifies could play a part in the motivation for this shooting. Again, six victims, 3 children, all 9, one about to turn 9, 3 adults, all aged 61, a substitute, a janitor, and the head of the school. And we now know that Hale entered through the side door with an AR rifle, an AR pistol, and a pistol. Officials were called at about 10:13 a.m. Police arrived and downed the suspect by 10:27. Police are gathering evidence at the Hales home on Brightwood Avenue, taking out certain items in brown bags to cover it up. 5 of those 6 victims were taken to hospitals before being pronounced dead. And at Covenant School, there are about 200 students, along with around 40 staff members, so a smaller school. And the video footage of today's tragedy may be released later this evening, but definitely tomorrow. Now over to the money news. Daria Albinger.
Stocks closed mostly higher to start the week. The Dow rose 195 points. It had been up over 300. The S&P added 7, while the Nasdaq fell 55. First Citizens Bank stock soared after it was announced that it would acquire most of Silicon Valley Bank, the tech-focused financial institution which collapsed last month. The FDIC and other regulators have already taken extraordinary steps to head off a wider banking crisis by guaranteeing the depositors in SVB as well as Signature Bank, which collapsed a few days later, would be given access to all of their money. The Fed's Vice Chair for Supervision, Michael Barr, is expected to tell the Senate Banking Committee Tuesday that it will take all necessary steps to protect depositors and the banking system. More of us are going into the office every day. The Labor Department says almost 73% of employees rarely worked from home last year.
And that is the latest news. Traffic and weather are coming up. I'm Mac Morey, WTN News.
If I could tell you a little bit about Dr. Stephen Poss and the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic. Here's a question. Have you woken yourself up with your own snoring? What about your sleeping partner? Getting a sharp elbow in the middle of the night? That's no good. Why don't you do something about it? Set up an appointment with Dr. Stephen Poss at the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic. 2 locations for your convenience, one in Brentwood, one in Murfreesboro. He makes a customized FDA-approved mouthpiece proven effective in treating mild to moderate cases of sleep apnea. Did you try the CPAP? Well, I know a lot of people hate theirs. Let's see if we can come up with another option for you. Set up an appointment with Dr. Poss and find out if this approach will work for you like it's worked for so many others. Julie put it this way, my husband got his mouthpiece and he stopped snoring at night. Our bedroom is much quieter. I'm sleeping so much better. He's sleeping better. It's been a win-win situation for us. Start getting a good night's sleep and feel more energized during the day. Contact the Sleep Apnea and TMJ Solutions Clinic at your earliest convenience to set up an appointment with Dr. Poss. 615-850-8445. Learn more at drposs.com.
Hi, I'm Paul Winkler. I've had a financial radio show on WTN for over 20 years. But before that, for about the first 10 years of my career, I worked for a big investment firm. The name of the game was selling and getting assets under management. Then I was introduced to evidence-based investing, driven by academic research and not the sales process. 2 big revelations. One was that investing in the stock market wasn't a gambling adventure. I had never thought about it that way. Think about when we invest, you're just gambling your money away and just throwing it into the casino. Well, investing in stocks is really just owning companies. And you think about some of the most successful people in the world are business owners, and you get to be a business owner when you invest in the stock market. It allows you to be part owner of the most successful companies in the world. The second had to do with how you were investing in those companies. In my former role, I was taught that my job was to use my skills to predict the future. Oh, crystal ball, what stocks or market segments are going to do best in the near future? If you listen to investing news sources and investment advisors, you'll find that making predictions is the rule rather than the exception. One recent study shows that 93% of professional managers underperformed the market over the past 15 years in their selection of large U.S. stocks. And it was over 95% that underperformed with small companies. Did you know that you could be tremendously successful as an investor without predicting the future? I believe the first step is education. However, it can't be just any education. We will help you understand what you're doing with your investments, why you're doing it, and what the basics are behind how things work. Then we make recommendations. I want you to be completely confident before you do anything. If that sounds like a winning game plan, set up a free 15-minute phone call at any of our 10 offices around Nashville. Go to paulwinkler.com to schedule a call today.
"38 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk, just bringing you up with the very latest with regard to the tragic incident that occurred here today in Nashville with the shooting at the Covenant Presbyterian Church. We were trying to lock down a little tidbit of information with regard to one of the children who was killed. There were three children, Evelyn Dykehouse, William Kennedy, and the third person was named Hallie Scruggs. It has been pointed out to us that the pastor of the church, Covenant Presbyterian Church, is named Chad Scruggs. And we now apparently are able to confirm that this is the daughter of Chad Scruggs. Chad Scruggs was apparently moved here in September of 2018 and was a pastor in the Dallas-Fort Worth area before coming here. And so that is what we know now about that situation. So many questions about the connection to the church, given the fact that the suspect in this case, the now dead suspect, Audrey Hale, the shooter, a female who identified as a male, went by Aiden and preferred the pronouns he, him, according to her social media profiles. Apparently this individual, was at one time a student at the school. And we don't know if there's some connection to the fact that one of the children who was killed happened to be the pastor of the church. Again, there are many details that police have that we don't know because they have access to a manifesto that has been written. They have access to the notes that they found at Audrey Aiden Hale's home. And then they said there is some possibility, this is the one part that I will hit, is that there is some possibility that the transgenderism of the individual may have had some impact on what happened here. Here's Chief John Drake.
Is there any reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So we may get more on that. In fact, I think probably the best thing we should do right now is play the salient points of the last press conference we had, because Chief John Hale and others were giving us perhaps the very latest information. This happened about 4:15. There has not been a briefing since. Let's go now to a briefing that occurred earlier this afternoon.
We've identified the shooter as Audrey Hale, 28-year-old female that lived in the Nashville area. We have investigations ongoing now at the residence on Brightwood Avenue, and we have made contact with the father that lived at that residence and are putting together more information. We've also determined there were maps drawn of the school in detail of surveillance, entry points, etc. We know and believe that entry was gained through shooting through one of the doors is how they actually got into the school. I want to take the time to at least say, and I won't say the victims' names, I'll let Don say that, but out of the 6 victims, 3 adults, 3 of those were children. 2 of them were age 9. 1 was 8, about to be 9. All the families have been contacted. The victims' families have been contacted as well. My thoughts and prayers go out to the family. When we send our kids to school or to any place of safety, we expect them to live, learn, have fun, and come back from that day's experience. We don't anticipate things like this. And I want to say thank you to our partners, to Chief Swan, to Glenn Funk, to our mayor for his support, to our federal partners. But also I want to say thank you to our first responders who got there and immediately went in and addressed the threat of someone that had multiple rounds of ammunition, prepared for a confrontation with law enforcement, prepared to do more harm than was actually done, and we were able to stop the threat, and unfortunately 6 victims. So my thoughts and prayers again, but the praise go to the men and women. As I've said before, we will not wait. I was hoping this day would never ever come here in this city, but we would never wait to make entry and to go in and to stop a threat, especially when it deals with our children.
I'm going to go over the victims' names with you now. The 3 9-year-olds who were killed: Evelyn Dickhouse, William Kenny, Hallie Scruggs. 3 adults: Mike Hill, a custodian, age 61; Cynthia Peak, to my understanding, a substitute teacher, age 61; and Catherine Kuntz, age 60. As Chief Drake said, we have identified the active shooter as Audrey Elizabeth Hale, age 28.
Don, do we believe that she was a former student at the school?
Yes, from our investigations tell us that she was a former student at the school. I don't know what grade she's attended or grades, but we do firmly believe she was a student there.
Did she identify as transgender?
She does identify as transgender, yes.
Is there any reason to believe the shooter first went to the church before going to the school?
I can't give you that information. I'm unsure. We know that the minute the calls came in, we responded to the church, so to the school. Yeah.
Was there like 2 officers that went in when they first got there? Do you know how many there was when they first entered?
So it was 5 officers that immediately went in and addressed. We have video that we're going to release, but you can see in the video, you can hear gunfire going on as they're in the school. They address the threat and take that threat down.
Chief, what do we know about her weapon?
So we know there were 2 AR-style weapons, one a rifle, another was an AR-style pistol, and the other was a handgun. We believe 2 of those may have been obtained legally, locally here.
Can you confirm that one of the adult victims, Catherine, was head of the school?
Was what?
Head of the school?
There was some, I don't know her exact capacity within the school, but it was higher up in the echelon.
And were any of the children related to any of the school staff?
Unsure. I believe one may have been, but I can't confirm that.
Did the shooter have any criminal history at all?
No history at all.
And no motive at this point? Anything discovered in the apartment or house?
No, we have a manifesto. We have some writings that we're going over that pertain to this day, the actual incident. We have a map drawn out of how this was all going to take place. There's right now a theory of that we may be able to talk about later, but it's not confirmed, and so we'll put that out as soon as we can.
Is she just reason to believe that how she identifies has any motive for targeting the school?
We can give you that at a later time. There is some theory to that. We're investigating all the leads, and once we know exactly, we'll let you know.
So was this a targeted attack?
It was.
Do we know about a history of transgender man or woman?
Don't know any history of mental illness at this time, but we are looking at that as the investigation is ongoing. And I'm sorry.
Was she identified as a transgender man or woman?
Woman.
Was this the only school that was targeted?
It was the only school that was targeted. There was another location that was mentioned, but because of a threat assessment by the suspect, too much security, they decided not to. And that area was here in Nashville, so we're continuing with that investigation as well. Right now, we believe it's a lone assailant, and we don't anticipate any further damage at this time, but we're still investigating.
The Brightwood address, she lived there with her parents? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That was Chief John Drake responding to questions at a press conference, and a lot of information to unpack there. And also, we heard from Don Aaron, who is a spokesman for the police department, about some of the things that they are learning. There is a bit more information about the individual, the shooter. Reached by phone, Audrey Aiden Hale's mother, Norma Hale, told an ABC reporter, "It's very difficult now. We asked for privacy. I really can't talk right now. I think I lost my daughter today." A LinkedIn profile says that Hale started a freelance illustration and graphic design business last year after attending and working for Nashville College of Art in Madison. At Nashville, Hale won an award for Most Improved in 2015, according to the school's site. And again, they are over at the house over on Brightwood where this individual lived with parents. And the chief said they were talking to the father to try to get more information and help to understand what has happened here. Neighbors have said, "I do know Audrey. I've known her since she was a baby. I had just gotten out of the shower when all of this started happening. I didn't really know anything more than that. Something was going on next door. It's just tragic for everybody. The child, the sweet children that were hurt, killed as adults, all of it." This woman told the Daily Beast. Asked if there were any warning signs about Hale. The individual neighbor responded, "Never. She was very sweet. I don't know what happened. It's very scary." 49 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Grace Point Healthcare delivers medicine affordably with menu-style transparent pricing, so you know how much it will cost before the care is actually delivered. Smart Care Plan, $69 a month. You get unlimited office visits, free basic labs for the entire year. And because they treat the whole family, even newborns, they offer family plans as well. In conjunction with a high-deductible insurance plan, this could save you and your family hundreds of dollars. At Grace Point, they take their time with each patient. They'll see you the same or the next day. There are no long wait times or crowded wait rooms, and they treat naturally whenever possible. Military vet-owned practice, that's for sure. One of the reasons why it's been voted the best primary care provider by Toast of Music City year after year after year. Grace Point Healthcare on Main Street in Franklin, 599-6868. That's 599-6868 to schedule a visit. Well, this has been a tragic, tragic day in the city of Nashville and the history of this town. And there is still much to learn as we go forward. And you can count on Super Talk 99.7 to bring you the very latest. Dan Mandis will pick up the story in the morning on Nashville's Morning News. I'll be back here tomorrow at 3 o'clock for more information. And we'll stay on top of this and bring you the other news of the day tomorrow. But our thoughts and our prayers go out at this hour to the families that are going through trauma right now because of the action of one person.